Hey everyone, this is going to be our first video for our Friday PD series that I am going to start. So we're going to be trying to touch on a lot of different things while we're out of school so we can continue to get digital CEUs. So our first PD session is going to be on how we can incorporate Google Sites into our classrooms. So we're going to show you just the actual application itself, and then I'm going to give you some tips and kind of why we use Google Sites. So what exactly is Google Sites? It is a website building platform that we have through our Google education applications that both we as teachers can use and our students have access to this as well. So why do we use Google Sites? For a couple of different reasons. So we kind of categorize it into the two different parts, one for students, one for teachers. Big one for students is it lets them be the content creators. They're the ones who are coming up with the design. They're coming up with the information. They are the ones that are kind of the person in charge of creating their site. Another good thing is the workload falls on them, meaning they are the ones that are coming up with the information. They're the ones that are doing all the behind the scenes work to making sure that their website works and that the information is correct and that it fits to whatever you're trying to do for your class. And the last thing I like is just a different way to present information for them. You know, it's not them writing a paper. It's not using Google Slides. It's something a little different for them to push out information. And then for us, two big things is if we're creating sites for our classrooms, we are in control of what's going on our site. So we can share out a site that has certain things that we need our students to look at or to have, and we're the ones that are putting it on it. They don't have to search and kind of go into wrong places because we are the ones that are putting the correct information on it. And I like to say it's one-stop shopping because once again, if you're in control, your kids can look at this website that you have created and they can find everything they need on one place. So before we show you the actual Google site and kind of the things that go with it, when I teach Google Sites or website building, I have our students kind of look at a few different things so it kind of ties in everything and it kind of brings it full circle for them. So one big thing is to kind of make sure they have the tips and tools for this is making sure they understand, you know, the parts of a web page so that they kind of understand the verbiage that goes with it. So making sure they understand, you know, what a header looks like or, you know, what do we mean by pages or the menu or content, footer, etc. And that link that is on that first bullet point will take you to a site that kind of breaks that stuff down that I've used before, and it's a really, really good site for our kids. Second thing, this is probably the biggest one that you'll have to make sure that your kids understand, and that's making sure that they understand kind of basic style principles and design principles that go with websites. Because yes, you're giving them that freedom, but you don't want to have that freedom kind of go off on 30 different paths when they need to really stay focused on what they're doing. So a lot of things that I teach them is making sure that their color scheme is the same. Have them pick a couple colors that they want for their backgrounds or for their text or whatever they're using, and keep that throughout all their pages. Same with font. You don't want them to be changing their font every 5 seconds or every different text box because it just takes away from what the page is trying to do. If they're incorporating pictures, I always say make sure they use quality pictures. Your picture shouldn't be blurry. We should be able to look at your picture and understand what it is and what you're trying to use. And probably one of the other big things is make sure it's easy to navigate. Make sure stuff's clear on what you're clicking so they understand what the website is trying to get. And the last big thing with understanding the design principles is at the end of your website, everything should make sense on what we're looking at, and we shouldn't have any questions once you leave. And the last big thing is, this is kind of putting it in their hands. I make sure that they have researched and designed their page before we even go online, because the online part can be a tiny bit overwhelming if you haven't done any planning before it. So I make sure that they have everything in place so that when they get to the online part, they're just ready to go and kind of dive in themselves. So those are just a couple easy tips for your kids to have to understand when they're actually building a site. So we're going to go to the actual application, and we'll show you kind of how you can incorporate different things and kind of show you what it actually looks like in case you haven't used it before. So I'm just going to open up another tab. And over here on your little grid box, when you're logged in for your apps, we're going to go to the one that says sites here, and it kind of looks like a little website as well. So it's going to bring up, it kind of looks like your Google Drive. You'll see sites up here in the corner. And where you're going to go to is at the bottom here is where this plus sign. So you can create a brand new blank site that your kids can work with. Okay, so once it loads, this is what your kind of blank slate's going to look like. So a lot of different stuff. Here in the middle is where all your content is going to be, what it's going to look like you said, kind of on the back end when you're creating your stuff. So we'll focus here on the top. So up top here, this is your header. This is kind of telling you what your website's going to be about. You can add in your title here. You can change what your header looks like. So there are a couple different options. You can just solely have it as just the title. You can have what is just the banner. This is kind of like the middle of the road option. And then you can have the large banner if you want to incorporate a picture for your background. There's also a cover option, which is the same thing, just a little bit bigger than the large banner. We'll just use the large banner for now. And then you can also here, you can add images. So you have a couple different options. You have the upload, which it could be a picture that you have saved or that you want to use. And they also have this select image option, which once again, you can use pull pictures from your Google Drive if you wanted to. You can use their gallery that they have. If you have a certain URL, you can use. And then they have this nice little option here that says search, where it brings up kind of a Google search menu that you can use from there as well. Okay. So within your pages, majority of them are going to look the same in terms of what you can do. So on our side here, these are all the different options that can help you create your page. So text box is just you being able to add in the text or the content that you want to put on your page. You have your options just like you would on a Google Doc or a Google Slide, where you can change kind of how big it's going to look, the different, if you want to bold it, italicize it, if you wanted to put bullet points, a lot of different stuff over there. You'll also notice when you add in a text box, you'll add in a picture, you get these little options as well. So you can delete it if you want to. You can duplicate it, which is just going to put the same exact thing that you have. And you can also change the background that will go with a certain theme, which we'll show you here in a second. So those are a couple different options that will appear once you start adding in content. When we add about the themes, there's a thing here on the side up at the top that says themes. Just kind of changes background or how text is going to appear. And you can change kind of color scheme with that as well. Also under you can add in images, which is the same thing. You're going to have those same two options that we had with our banner. You can embed stuff, meaning we can click on it and add in certain URLs. And then we can also pull in stuff from our Drive, which is really, really nice if you are creating your website, you're having your students do something that they can pull in information or different research things that they've done from the past, and they can add them to whatever you're trying to do, which is really, really nice. Below that, there's a thing that is called layouts. This is if your kids have come up with some sort of certain design where they wanted to add pictures and text, they have some preloaded layouts for you as well. So say you wanted to have option where you had pictures and text below it, you can click on it and it's going to add it in there for you. So it adds a part for your picture, it adds a part for text, and it just really helps kind of categorize and kind of break apart your page in an easier fashion, as opposed to individually adding text boxes and image boxes in there as well. Down here as well, once again, just different options for you to have in here. You can pull stuff from your Drive if your internet's working. You can add in videos from YouTube. You can add in calendars, maps. Like I said, there's a lot of different options for this as well. You can add in buttons, which are simple. This is one, just like if you looked on our Mangum curriculum and instruction, there's different buttons up there for YouTube and NC Ed Cloud. You would just add in the name and you would add in a URL, and then it'll add in a button there that when you present, you can click on and it will take you to certain different sites. Another thing that you can do is you can also kind of rearrange the page however you would like. You can switch different things and move different things. So say we wanted that text box below our layout that we chose, you can easily click and drag and move it that way. So pretty simple in terms of what you can add. Like I said, this part over here can be somewhat overwhelming if you don't have an idea of what you want your page to look like, because there are a lot of different options. So that's why I say for our kids to make sure that they have planned it out ahead of time before they go into the online portion. Okay, last big thing we're going to show you is how you can add pages to your website. Because right now all you have is your home. So very simple, you can add in a page like this. Once you add it, you'll notice that it will appear up here on the menu. Okay, so now we have two different things. And to make sure if you're adding in different stuff for your content, make sure you're selected on that page, and then you can go back to insert and add in your different content per page. One last thing is, once you start adding pages, you'll notice that you'll have a navigation part over here. What you can do is you can, like I said, you can add in different pictures if you had a logo for a site, but the other thing is you can just kind of toggle how it looks, whether color or if you want it on the top or the side. That's solely kind of just a preference thing for you. But another option to, once again, just present your site how you want it to be presented. The last really nice thing that you can do with Google Sites is to make sure you're kind of on track and make sure it's looking the way you want to, is this preview button up here. So once you click it, it'll actually present it like you would look at it on a website. So it's really, really nice because, like I said, the back end looks a little different and it might not look like what you want it to be. So use that preview button just so you can kind of stay on the same track and make sure you're doing everything that you want to do. Okay, so that is kind of Google Sites in a nutshell. Kind of threw a lot at you. So if you have any questions or you would like to, whenever we happen to get back, if you want to incorporate this, please let me know. I'd be happy to come in and either talk with you or talk with your kids so you can incorporate Google Sites into your classroom and into instruction. Thank you so much.